The little raindrop that dreamed of the ocean. High above the sleeping land, where clouds drifted soft and grand, a little raindrop quietly lay, waiting for its falling day. It was smaller than a feather, soft and bright as morning weather. Around it floated countless drops, resting on the cloudy tops. Where will you go? The raindrops asked. The little drop looked down below. I don't know, it softly said. I only know that someday soon I will fall beneath the moon. The clouds moved slowly through the sky while silver birds went flying by. The little raindrop watched below and wondered where the rivers flow. Far beneath the clouds, it saw green fields stretching toward the shore. It saw a forest dark and deep where quiet flowers lay asleep. It saw a village, small and still, resting gently by a hill, and far beyond the distant land, it saw the ocean wide and grand. The little stared in awe. That ocean looked so beautiful. I want to reach it someday. The wind began to blow, the cloud began to move, the raindrop held on tightly, then suddenly down it fell. Through the morning sky it flew, past clouds of silver, white, and blue. It passed a mountain tall and wide, where waterfalls rushed down its side. It touched a leaf upon a tree, then slipped into a stream so free. The little raindrop looked around. Is this the ocean? The stream replied, not yet, little drop. Keep flowing. So the raindrop traveled on, the stream became a river. The river moved through fields of green where wildflowers bloomed beside the stream. A little rabbit stopped to drink. A deer came quietly to the brink. Birds gathered near the water's side. The little raindrop watched with pride. I'm helping flowers grow. I'm giving thirsty creatures water. Perhaps I do not need the ocean yet, but deep inside the dream remained. It wanted to see the endless blue. It wanted to feel the ocean waves. So it continued. The river became wider. It passed beneath an ancient bridge where an old man stood alone. It leaned upon the wooden rail and watched the river flow. It remembered when I was young, the old man whispered, I dreamed of traveling far away, but I stayed here. I built my home, I raised my family, and I learned that happiness can sometimes be found where we least expect it. The raindrop listened, it wondered about dreams. Could a dream change? Could someone love the place they had while still remembering the place they once wished to see? The river carried the raindrop onward. Days passed. The river traveled through valleys, beneath bridges, past villages, around quiet hills. The little raindrop had changed. It was no longer thinking only about reaching the ocean. It had seen so many lives. It had touched so many places. It had held flowers bloom. It had filled small ponds. It had cooled warm stones. It had given water to thirsty animals. It had become part of something much bigger than its own little dream. Then one evening the river reached a peaceful village. A young boy sat beside the water. He held a paper boat. He placed it gently on the river. Go, he whispered. Find the ocean for me. The little raindrop smiled. The boat floated away. The boy watched until it disappeared. I will see the ocean someday, he whispered. The raindrop wanted to tell him, keep dreaming, but raindrops cannot speak to people. So it simply continued its journey. The river grew wider, the air became salty, seabirds appeared overhead, the sound of waves could be heard somewhere beyond the horizon. The little raindrop's heart filled with excitement. Is it finally time? The river answered softly, yes. I had the land opened wide, the river rushed forward, and then the little raindrop saw it. The ocean, endless, blue, beautiful, moving beneath the golden sky. The raindrop became still with wonder. So, this is where I was going. The river smiled. You have arrived. The little raindrop flowed into the ocean. For a moment, it felt as though it had disappeared. It was no longer a tiny raindrop. It had become part of something enormous. Waves rolled toward the shore. The sun reflected across the water. The wind carried the sound of the sea. The raindrop looked around. I thought reaching the ocean would be the end of my journey. The ocean whispered, no, it is another beginning. The little raindrop was surprised. Another beginning. The ocean replied, what? The sun rose higher. Warmth touched the surface. The little raindrop felt itself becoming lighter. It slowly rose into the sky. Higher and higher, the ocean became smaller below. The raindrop became part of a cloud again. It looked down at the land. There were rivers, forests, fields, villages, mountains, and somewhere far away, the little boy was still dreaming. The raindrop smiled. Now it understood the ocean had never been the end. It had been a place of transformation, a place where one journey became another. The little raindrop looked toward the horizon. I wonder where I will go next. The wind whispered, wherever you are needed, and the little raindrop drifted onward, not afraid of falling, not afraid of changing, not afraid of beginning again, because now it knew a dream is not always about reaching one destination. Sometimes the journey itself is what makes the dream beautiful. And somewhere below, the first drops of another gentle rain began to fall. The little raindrop drifted high, a silver sparkle in the sky. It washed the world below once more, the quiet hills, the fields, the shore. It remembered where it came from, the little cloud beneath the sun. It remembered every gentle stream, every flower beside the green. It remembered the ancient tree, the river flowing wild and free. It remembered the old man standing by the bridge where waters wandered. It remembered the little boy who sent his paper boat with joy. And now, above the world so wide, the raindrop floated with the tide. I have been many things, it said, a tiny drop, a stream, a river, a part of the ocean, and now a cloud again. The wind replied, that is the beauty of being alive. The raindrop looked toward the mountains. Below, the snow was melting, tiny streams were forming. Spring had arrived, the raindrop felt something familiar. The journey was beginning again. It drifted across the mountains and rested on a snowy peak. The snow beneath it slowly melted. The raindrop joined another stream. This time it was not afraid. It knew the river would carry it. It knew the journey would change it, and it knew that every place it touched could become part of its story. The stream flowed down the mountain. It passed through a valley filled with yellow flowers. A family was planting seeds in a small garden. The mother carried a bucket, the father loosened the soil. The little girl placed each seed carefully into the ground. Will they grow? She asked. Her father smiled. If we give them water, sunlight, and patience, they will have a chance. The little raindrop heard this. Water, sunlight, patience. It remembered the ocean, it remembered its own dream. Perhaps dreams were like seeds. They needed care, they needed time, and sometimes they needed storms. The raindrop entered the garden soil. It traveled deep beneath the earth. The seed above it began to awaken. A tiny root reached downward, a tiny green shoot reached upward. Days passed, then one morning a little flower appeared. The girl ran outside. Look, the family gathered around the little flower open beneath the morning sun. The raindrop rested quietly within its roots. It felt happy. It had once believed that reaching the ocean was its greatest peace, greatest purpose. Now it understood something more. Sometimes being part of a flower could be just as beautiful. Sometimes a dream does not need to end exactly as we imagine. Sometimes the journey changes what we truly want. Summer arrived, the flower grew taller, bees visited its petals, butterflies danced above it. The little girl sat beside it every afternoon. She talked to the flower, she told it her secrets, she told it about school, she told it about her dreams. I want to see the ocean someday, she whispered. The raindrop smiled. It had heard those words before. The same dream, another heart, another journey. Perhaps one day the little girl would reach the ocean too. The raindrop waited, autumn came, the flower released its seeds, the wind carried them across the fields. The little girl watched them fly. Goodbye, she whispered. She was sad, but her father said, goodbye sometimes make room for new beginnings. The raindrop remembered the ocean again and again. Life was teaching the same lesson. Nothing stays exactly the same. Flowers bloom, flowers fade, rivers rise, rivers fall. People arrive, people leave, dreams begin, dreams change, and still life continues. Winter came, the garden became quiet, snow covered the ground, the little girl stayed indoors. She looked out the window and dreamed about summer, she dreamed about flowers, she dreamed about the ocean. The raindrop rested beneath the frozen earth. It was waiting, not worried, not afraid, waiting because it had learned that every season has an ending and every ending holds a beginning of another season. Then spring returned, the snow melted, the garden woke, new flowers appeared, new seeds became plants, and the little girl grew older. One summer morning, she stood beside the garden and with a backpack on her shoulders. I'm going to see the ocean, she announced. Her parents smiled. She had dreamed of it for years now. She was ready. The little raindrop traveled with her in a strange and beautiful way, not in a bottle, not in her hands, but in the flower she had loved. The flower had become a memory, the memory had become courage, and courage had become a journey. The girl traveled beyond the hills, crossed valleys, she rode beside rivers, she saw mountains in the distance, and finally she heard the waves. She stopped, her eyes filled with wonder. There it was, the ocean, exactly as she had imagined, and somehow more beautiful. She walked toward the water. A wave touched her feet. She laughed. The little raindrop carried by the sea breeze felt as though it had completed another circle. The girl looked toward the horizon. I made it, she whispered. The ocean answered with a gentle wave. The girl smiled that she understood something too. The dream had not been beautiful only because she reached the ocean. It had been beautiful because she had spent years dreaming about it. Every garden, every flower, every rainy afternoon, every difficult day, every patient morning had been part of the journey. The little raindrop felt peaceful. It had dreamed of the ocean. It had reached the ocean. It had become a cloud. It had fallen again. It had helped the flower grow. And that flower had helped the little girl find courage. The raindrop finally understood what the ocean had meant. A journey is never only about yourself. Sometimes your journey becomes part of someone else. Sometimes your smallest act helps another person take a step. Sometimes you give without knowing what your gift will become. And sometimes you are part of a story you never knew you were helping to write. The sun began to set. The ocean turned golden. The girl sat quietly beside the shore. She listened to the waves. The wind moved softly through the air. She closed her eyes, and somewhere high above, the little raindrop became part of a cloud again. It looked down at the ocean, it looked toward the land, and it whispered, "Wherever I go next, I will not be afraid." The wind carried it gently away, another journey, another beginning, another dream waiting somewhere beneath the wide and peaceful sky. And so the little raindrop continued on, falling, flowing, changing, growing, giving, returning, never truly lost, never truly finished, always becoming something new. So that was a story. Now the message of the poem. The journey toward a dream can be just as important as reaching the dream itself. The little raindrop begins with one simple wish to reach the ocean. Along the way, it discovers that life is much bigger than one destination. It helps flowers grow, gives water to animals, it becomes part of a river, it meets people with dreams of their own, it becomes part of a flower that inspires a young girl, and eventually the girl reaches the ocean too. The raindrop learns that our lives are connected. Sometimes we do something small and never realize how much it may mean to someone else. A kind word, a little help, a moment of patience, a gentle smile, a small act of courage. We may think these things are insignificant, but like a tiny raindrop, they can travel much farther than we imagine. The poem also reminds us that dreams can change. You may begin your journey wanting one thing and discover something even more beautiful along the way. That does not mean you failed, it means you grew. So if your dream feels far away today, do not give up. Keep moving, keep learning, keep growing, and if you need to change direction, do not be afraid. A river changes its course, a cloud changes its shape, flower changes with the season, and the raindrop can become a river, an ocean, a cloud, and rain again. Change is not the opposite of the journey, change is part of the journey. And remember, you do not have to reach your destination today. Sometimes you only need to take the next small step. One day you may look back and realize that every little step, every delay, every change, and every unexpected turn was quietly carrying you towards something beautiful. So keep dreaming, keep flowing, keep becoming, and wherever your journey takes you, trust that you are not lost, you are simply becoming the next version of yourself. If you like the poem, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more soft spoken videos. Thank you.